Hello, and thank you for joining me for another episode of the Finish More Music podcast. I'm delighted to be joined by Mr. Adrian Blaga, who is a DJ in his own right. He's out in Miami. As you guys know, I've recently moved to Austin, so we're on the same side of the pond. He's very much growing, getting lots of gigs and recognition as a DJ, and he also owns and runs the quite excellent Magician on Duty label that has support from some real heavyweights, Hernan Cataneo, Nick Warren, Sebastian Leger. So he's a man who's growing in multiple different facets of the music industry, and I'm really excited to bring his knowledge and experience to you. Adrian, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast and joining me today.
Okay, thank you so much for your kind words. I really appreciate it. I'm super excited to join you, and hopefully we'll bring a lot of value to everyone who's watching this video. So thank you. I appreciate it.
I do not doubt it for 1 second. So I want to dive into your background before we get into kind of the label and the DJing, because it's really colorful and I think really exciting. Pro fencing, break dancing, working on a cruise ship. Now you're moved from Romania to Miami, and now obviously you're working on your music career here. So I'd love to get like a little bit of a feel for the background and how you feel each of the things that you've done have led you to being where you are today.
Yes, so like you said, it's a very interesting journey. I feel like life takes you in different ways, and there was a lot of times that opportunities got presented to me, and then I just took them. You know, some worked, some didn't, but I feel like from each one of them, I got to learn something that I think that they all, you know, those things already helped me, or I think they're going to help me at a certain point. And even though we had a little chat before about what I actually did, there's even more to that. So, you know, from fencing, from breakdancing when I was a teenager, going on a cruise ships, from working in a dining room, and then moving to entertainment, you know, doing bingo for grandmas and grandpas, actually doing art auctions after that, only to start selling diamonds at a certain point, and then move to Miami, discover, or maybe say rediscover, and fall in love with the electronic music scene. And that was, you know, after a couple of years in Miami, that's when I took a decision. I said, I love it so much, why not go for it?
Amazing. I mean, one of the things that, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but we talked just before we kicked off the interview about the fencing and the level of discipline that was required, that I think sort of maybe took you by surprise at the start of it, and then you learned to get into it. But there was a discipline, a professionalism, and you know, in all the communications I've had with you, that's one of the things that comes across is you're fast, you're disciplined, you're professional in your approach. Have I got the right gist of that? Did that help to kind of shape the way that you approach the industry today?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I think that if you want to be the best at what you do, and this is not, I don't think it pertains only to the music industry, you need to show up and you need to be better than everybody else. Fencing helped me have that mentality and learn about that mentality, but then take that into the real world. I remember even now when I was actually, this is not even related to fencing in a way, but when I went to high school, it was a physical education high school too. And I remember one of my teachers, he was the strictest. The funny thing was that it was this high school, and the physical education teacher was the strictest one. And if you were late 1 minute to his class, he would literally he would not let you join the class. It was 1 minute, and you'd be like, 1 minute. He's like, no, you have to be on time. I remember he was doing a class on how to walk, and initially everyone laughed, and everybody laughed. We were like, you know, teenagers laughing. I was like, what do you mean how to walk? You're not gonna, you know. But he was explaining to us, and he was teaching us how to make certain steps when, let's say, something you're not expecting would come your way. And that was so weird. And he was telling us these things wouldn't help you for the rest of your life. And we were laughing, and we were doing these things. And this is like 30 years, I don't know, 25 years ago. And I still caught myself sometimes doing walking or trying to see, you know, maybe taking a turn and somebody would come my way, and I would make that move that teacher 25 years ago taught me. And I would just completely avoid a collision with somebody just I would always remember that moment, you know. So going back to what we're saying is that now doing what I do, I constantly remember it. You need discipline, you know. You need to again, it depends also on what you're looking for. Maybe my story and my journey and what I'm looking for in the music industry and what I do, it's different from somebody else. But the way I see it is that I want to be the best at what I do, you know. So in order for me to do that, I need to discipline myself, because that would be the goal. And from discipline is also, you know, consistency. So when you form a habit in what you do, then you're only going to get better at it. And again, this is not just music, this is everything, sports, you name it. And this, again, going back to our conversation, goes back to sports. The more you do one thing, the more you get better at it. And think about studio. That's how you start. You're going to start making a track in the studio. You're going to, you know, if you notice, if you keep doing it, take an hour of the day or whatever your schedule is, but you keep going back at it, there's no discussion that after a while you're going to get better at it. Like it's proven.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've touched on production, so I know that you wrote music for a while before shifting your focus more fully to DJing. How did the production influence your performance and DJing in terms of your musical taste, or didn't it? Was it always been your love of DJing that it informed the production for a period? How did those two things marry up together?
So first, I like to create things. As I grew older, I mean, now I'm going to be 39 in July. You know, as you grow older, you start to understand more you know, the things that you're good at, and also the things that you're not good at. So I'm a creative person. I like to create things. I don't like numbers. I don't like negotiating with people. I don't like to, you know, do things like this. So in terms of music producing, I met a couple of local DJs in Miami back in, I don't know, maybe 2009, 2010. And one of them was already producing music. So then I started just hanging out with him and go to his studio, and I really liked what he was doing. And then, you know, slowly I started learning how to use Ableton and many other things. And then I started making my own tracks, and that definitely gave me a better perspective of things in regards to how to DJ in a way, you know. I mean, not how should I say, it didn't impact my performances by, you know, say 50 or 60%, but I definitely learned many things, because when you are in, you know, when you produce a track, you understand, you start learning how to create tension, release tension, how to, you know, when to make a break, or just bring the energy higher or lower. So there's a lot of dynamics that you understand. And then I think that definitely these type of experiences it's gonna shape your performance later on.
Yeah, I love it. That's really interesting perspective, actually, because there are so many sort of techniques and skills you learn in production that are just the technical bits, but there's also, like you say, the musical understanding. And ultimately, a DJ set is really one large piece of music, because we're blending tracks together. And like you say, there's, you know, there are moments for tension, moments where, and you're reading the crowd as well, and, you know, doing all of this stuff live. But absolutely, I can totally understand how you've taken that information and assimilated it into your DJing. So if we then take that into the label as well, and how that impacts your DJing, because is it a case of just your taste as a DJ informs what you've signed to the label, or have you got a clear vision for the label independent of the music that you play? Is there a direct correlation there?
Not necessarily. I feel like I'm a bit of an oddball in regards to that, because I like a lot of different things and a lot of different genres. So some people, a lot of times people are surprised by that, and I'm fine with that, because as I grow as an artist and also as a record label owner, and with everything that I do, I keep shifting and I keep discovering new things, and I'm always hungry for new things. At the beginning, I was doing the label, and I was releasing the music that I felt, and I was also playing it. But I feel like lately it's becoming just a reflection of my journey in the music as a DJ too, you know. So actually it depends. Sometimes I don't find space for the music from my label, and you go into an idea of battling your ego, which is like, oh, should I just play music from my label because I can? But wait, does it fit in what I'm doing right now? So I'm more of a, let's see where I believe that every single event, every single performance is just one of a kind, and it's that place in that moment. So that's the way I go about it. Yes, I do set an intention for the experience, but in regards to the music and the label, it's very interesting because I would have, like, look, lately I've just signed some releases that are more indie, like peak time indie dance, kind of like that 80s feel with combined with a little bit of melodic techno that is like peak time club time. And I love it. And I'm actually working out like a couple of releases in that energy. And people would say, well, but you are the organic house down tempo guy. It's like, well, I'm not the guy. I'm actually the guy for good music. And I would like to showcase a wide variety of moods and energies and different things that I enjoy and I play. And that's the music that I have in my USB when I go perform. I have a playlist with minimal or Romanian techno. Do I play it all the time? I do not. But do I have it? I enjoy it. And there will be a time when there's going to be a place for that. But it has to make sense, and obviously I'm just constantly learning. I'm in regards to this, so yeah, going back to what you said, label is definitely a reflection of me as a performer.
Right. Okay. Beautiful stuff. So I'd love to kind of go back and really get into your journey in the label. And I think we'll touch back on DJing at various points because it's clearly intertwined, which is great. You had a label before Magician on Duty, which was Making You Dance Records. Have I got that right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so I'd love to know, what was the initial spark that made you say, right, I want to start my own label?
I just thought that, like many things, it just happened randomly, but felt like I can create something of a platform where I can discover and find and make connections with different people from around the world. That was my learning platform, to say, because that was where I made every single mistake that you can think of in the book. That I made it with that label from A to Z, from not knowing how to communicate with people, not understanding how to properly promote a release, how to have a great image of the label, and so forth. That was literally my platform where I made all the mistakes possible, and from those mistakes I learned. And that's where, when I launched Magician on Duty, I knew so many things, and then everything clicked because I understood how things work. And it was very, very hard. I had to stop releasing on Making You Dance because it was just too much. I knew that if I wanted to do something really good, I had to pick one, so that was a great experience, that brought me here.
Fantastic. And you've sort of preempted my question, because this was the thing that I was really curious about, was the moving from the original, or your first label, to Magician on Duty, and the lessons that you took across. And I can feel as well the energy here of this tying into you seeing an opportunity and taking it. You won't sit back. You go like, right, let's get in, let's be hands-on, let's learn as we go, and then I'll take that knowledge and move it forward. In this case, you went obviously for a fresh start with Magician on Duty, which is super cool. So what is the I guess the ethos now with Magician on Duty? You started it as a fresh slate, and what was your intention going into it?
My intention was, again, this is also correlates to my journey as a DJ too. And I'm one of those guys that, I don't know, I listen to maybe 500 promos a week at least. So I'm always down, quote down the rabbit hole. So I'm always listening to new things, and I'm always looking, like when I search for music, I don't search just one genre. I always just take it all. I like to check breaks. I like to check, electronica. I like to check like many things. I want to be exposed to as many different things as possible, because I don't believe in actually sticking to one thing. It's just maybe, I don't know, maybe it's boring. Maybe it's this is just how my mind works, So with Magician on Duty, at that time, I was really enjoying a lot of, if you look at the first and maybe second year of releases, there was a lot of down tempo music with a lot of like ethno influences, a lot of like Arabic, let's say Arabic rhythm and chants, which, I still enjoy. And then after probably like 2 years, I moved into kind of like the dreamy house, let's say, kind of like All Day I Dream style, to say. And that, I went on that wave because that's what I was enjoying at that time. And then, moving later on, I start to explore other things too, like more of a slow down tempo, like Berlin slow, how they call it, slow house, slow techno, which just for me, it was just fascinating, because I was listening to a lot of music on SoundCloud and random podcasts, only to hear tracks that I released on Making You Dance as a melodic techno track that was like 124, 125 BPM. And then you would have this German DJs down pitching this track at 115, right? Blasphemy. And they would sound incredible. And it's just like, oh, whoa, what's happening here? Because I'm discovering something very interesting. And I was just listening to this slow techno, slow house sets that would be around 110, 115, or even lower, but most of the tracks being just down pitched. And they were so sexy, so, I don't know, alluring. It was like pulling you in. And don't get me wrong, I mean, if you're listening to that, listening to that music, and maybe you have a drink, and maybe you have a little, smoke, then definitely enhances your your experience, So
I'm interested, because this really leads me into a question that we get a lot, which is where people are concerned about sending their music to a label because they're, well, I'm not sure if it's a really good fit for the label. And one of the things that I say is that as an artist, you might have your ear on the label's past, but the label owner's got their ear on the label's future. So, for example, if someone was listening to the music in the first couple of years, they might have a very clear idea of what you, in their mind, of what you want to sign next. But in your head, you're going somewhere else already. So with that in mind, what advice would you have for people, let's say just starting with Magician on Duty, but for people who are, keen to submit music to your label, just in terms of a taste and genre type aspect, what are the to-dos and the not to-dos? Because it's unpredictable to know exactly what you're looking for.
I think that first thing that they need to do, and probably the most important, do a research, do a deep dive into the label, and listen. I would say, take last 6 months of releases, check the artist, listen to the music, and then first follow the label. I received so many emails from people, and they say, I love your label, this is great. And then I go and check their profile, and they don't even follow the label. So that gives me an impression that everything was done in a rush, and they didn't really care much to check, So I would say do a deep dive. You don't have to write, letters and letters, or a very long, lengthy email. Follow the label. Pick 1 or 2 releases that you enjoy. Mention that when you write the email. Say, hey, my name is such and such. I really enjoyed your XYZ releases, and I have some music that I think you might enjoy. Even if the music is different, include it and say, listen, I know you've been doing this, but I think that this is my music, I think has the quality to be released on your label. And if you don't mind, take a minute and listen to this music. That's it. And I think it packs such a punch. And especially you have to put yourself in the position of a very successful label. They get emails, hundreds of emails, maybe thousands of emails. So that's your shot of making a contact with somebody. Never send a mass email. If you know the name of the person, will be even more important, because people, if somebody writes me and say, hey, Adrian, etc., then I know that they took the time to find out who's that person. If you really want to go down the rabbit hole to actually find out if your music is going to fit that label, find out who's the owner of the label. Most of them are DJs. Go into their mixes and listen to the music that they play. Probably that will be the best way to find out where the head of the label is. If you're not sure the music is going to fit, listen to the last 3 mixes that person recorded or played, because sometimes, like, look, sometimes you play an after hours set, sometimes you play, a peak time set. So obviously the music might be a little bit different from my point of view. That's at least that's the way I see it. But that would be number one. If the owner, and sometimes I notice there's a few labels that they're not run by DJs, which is, makes it even more interesting to say. But that's so easy. Just go into their SoundCloud, check their mixes, and be like, okay, then my music fits perfectly. So then you can also mention that in that email. Hey, I listened to your set from etc. You played at Fabric London. I really enjoyed it. That track at 30th minute. Wow. If you put only that, when I read the email, of that person reads the email, understands that this person took the extra time to actually care and do some research, and they really want to be part of your label. So that goes such a long way, because most people, they're being lazy about it, and they just send emails like spam. Oh, let me put, I did that myself too. Oh, I did that too. I just didn't know. And I literally got 30, 40, 50 emails from labels, and I would just be like, hey, blah, 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 dear record label owner. So I would say that, keep it short and sweet, introduce yourself, always private SoundCloud links. Don't send anything else to download. Nobody will download anything. We don't have time for that. Don't send me WeTransfer links or private SoundCloud links. That's it. I would say it's short and sweet. Introduce yourself, and I think that if you include the things that I said, whoever is reading your email, they will understand that you care, and they will at least reply back. I'll be honest with you, lately I haven't had time to reply back to everyone. If somebody sends me music that I think that they have a great potential, and a lot of times they send me music but it's just not for me, but I know I can hear the quality of the production, then I would reply back and say, hey, I like your sound, I think you are great, but this track is not for me, but keep me posted, please. So I always keep tabs, and it happened. I had just release. I have an upcoming. Actually, the next release on the label is with with an Italian producer, and I'm telling you, this guy sent me like probably 8 or 9 emails with different releases, and I said no to all of them. But I could hear that he has it, but I felt, and I told him, I said, listen, I don't want to sign just good music. I want to sign wow music. And I understand it's hard. I'm also crazy because you can't just sign every single release to be a gem, but I want, when I hear that, to be inspired. And finally, after 8, 9, I mean, this guy was relentless, which was incredible for me. And he sent me 5 tracks, and they were just incredible. And I wrote him back. I said, thank you so much for not stopping and keep trying. I love them and I want to sign them.
This is great. We've unpacked a lot there, and I just want to go through this because there was so much value in what you've just said from a number of different perspectives, because I know that a lot of people worry and they don't send their music to a label because they think, oh God, if I get one shot at this, and if I miss that shot, then I'm on some kind of blacklist. And we'll talk about that in a second, how to get on the blacklist, because I'm sure there are ways to that you're going to see an email and go, well, that's not for me. And it probably is the opposite of a lot of what we've said about, or what you've talked about here. But this idea of personalizing things and doing your research, and I love this idea of as well as saying, look, this piece of music is maybe a little different to what you've already got on the label, but I've listened to your DJ set and I've heard you played some of these tracks. So, you know, I thought it worth reaching out, and providing there's that level of personalization and research, and qualitatively the music is there or thereabouts, even if it doesn't meet your taste, which, to be fair, is fickle. And you'll know this, particularly as a DJ. It's so easy to listen to music and go, yeah, I like that, I'll put that in my DJ set, and then listen to it again tomorrow and think, why did I think this is a record I would play? And you know, that's the same for you, of course, as a label owner. So, you know, and you're aware of these things. You know, this isn't a robot at the other end of the label. The label owner is a human being, and as you said, providing this is professional research, personalized, there's a reason you're sending the music, and qualitatively it's there or thereabouts. You're not going to get some kind of blackball. Instead, you're going to encourage the person, hey, listen, I'd love to hear some more. This isn't for me. And then just to wrap this up in a bow, because it links right back to what you talked about at the start, the discipline and the consistency. Actually, if somebody keeps sending you music that's on the right track, you're seeing that as, hey, this person is professional, they're disciplined, this is a good thing, versus them throwing stuff that's got nothing to do with the label, or treating you in a manner that they don't care, which all of a sudden now this is kind of the reverse situation. And that's likely to get, you know, okay, this person is not professional, and they're not taking the care and valuing my time as a record label owner. So I've kind of done a summary there, because that was amazing, everything that you said. Obviously, we've touched on some of the things that would lead you to say, look, I'm not interested anymore. What other things come into your inbox that are immediate red flags that either you won't listen at all, or you do listen and then you say, look, if this person's email pops into my inbox again? You said you're listening to, like, was it 500 a week? I think you said.
Yeah.
You know, there's a filter there where you're going to go, look, I'm not, this stuff is wasting my time. You know, what tends to happen that people need to avoid doing when they're sending to you and other labels?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think I touched on them. Don't send a mass email. Find the person. If take the time to, you know, you can also, look, it's very easy. You can also create an email template, but change the name. You know, I know it's more work to do. Instead of sending an email to 100 people, send to stay and actually email everyone individually. But in the long run, it's much better, because again, sending a mass email, and I keep getting it from time and time. And also, you have to understand, you sending a mass email, then it just shows you that you put yourself in the same position with other like 30 people. Like, I'm not going to fight for your music. Like, I take pride in what I do, and I take pride in Magician on Duty. If you send your music to another 30, I mean, I understand you want options, that's fine. But at the same time, you put me in the same bucket with other 30, 40 labels. So I'm thinking, so then why do I want to work with you? You know, because the way I see it is, I want to release something special. I want something that touches people, and something that it will just not get lost in a sea of, you know, of just music being released. Again, I did that with my first label, when just releasing music to release music. Oh, let's be on a schedule. Okay, how many releases? Wow, let's put out. It's, again, if you want to work, if you want to be signed with a really good label, those people, they know how things work. They've been doing things. Let's take, for example, let's say Stillborn Talent. It's Oliver Koletsky. It's been in the industry for 20 years. He's seen it all, heard it all. There's no, I mean, you need to come right. You need to learn how to, if you want to be at that level, you need to learn how to get to that level and act at that level. with everything, with the way you present yourself, with the way, you know, your pages looks, your social media. And, you know, we can get into a conversation about social media too, with some people are so, you know, against it. But at the end of the day, I don't think there's a more incredible time to become a musician. You know, we have all the tools. Like literally, I used to pay hundreds of dollars for Point Blank online. You know, the online school Point Blank.
Huh?
I paid hundreds of dollars to do courses. And to be honest with you, I mean, I learned things, but not something that, wow, changed my life. And now all those things are available for free on YouTube. You know, so again, going back to contacting labels, take your time. Just take a time. I would say it wouldn't even take you more than 15 or half an hour max to actually do a deep dive on a project or an artist. And like I said, I think the easiest way is like, okay, I want to sign my music on this label. Okay, who are the owners, or what's the collective? How many people? Okay, go into their page, see where they're playing, what they're playing. It's so easy. The way I see it, in 15, 20 minutes tops, you would find and get a whole picture of an understanding of what they're about. And then you can do this. At the same time, everything that I said right now, there's videos on it everywhere. There's blog articles. There's, you know, again, I think that's it. Just take the time to learn. If you do not know how to contact people, or if you know you're not good at communicating, and I understand it, you know, all of us, we all want to be just artists. I just want to do that, but life is not like that, you know, most of the time. So you have to learn. And the beauty of it is that in 2002, everything is available for free on the internet. How to, you know, everything, how to, you can literally go on YouTube and say how to XYZ, 1,000 things, and you can learn them.
Yeah, totally. So I absolutely want to talk about the social media piece. I do want to jump back to another question that came into my mind, though, when you were talking about understanding that people do want to have options, and, you know, obviously sending out to 30 people is going to just be a demonstration to you that you're in a bucket with 30 different people. What happens, though, if somebody has reached out to you, they're keen to sign on your label, and maybe they'd reached out to another label perhaps previously and hadn't heard back, and now they've got signed by that other label before you come back to them? What are your thoughts on that? So it would be a simple scenario of I say to you, you reach out to me and say, hey, Keith, I love your music, I'd love to sign it. And then I say, Adrian, I'm really sorry, I've just signed it somewhere else. How does that work for you?
I mean, look, it happened to me a couple of times where, for me personally, I always check things, you know, I would say in a decent time. I had a couple of situations when actually somebody sent me some demos. I liked them. I said, I want to sign them. And then the artist a couple of days later said, oh, I'm sorry, I signed them to a different label. I mean, it's fine. It's such a tricky situation, but I wouldn't put too much, you know, how should I say, a negative connotation. It just depends. Sometimes people, you know, like if everything happens in such a short period of time, and if that person, you know, at the end of the day, you want to be friends with everybody. Obviously, you can be friends with everybody, but you want to keep it to a level where you have a, you know, the door is open. And I understand. It happened to me sometimes where an up-and-coming artist sent me the music. I liked it. I said yes. And then a bigger label than mine said yes. And I told him, I said, you know what? Fair play. You know, I want you to be happy, and I understand you need to grow. So go for it. I'm okay with it. I learned that this thing doesn't bring anything to me to have an ego situation where I'll be, you know, creating a situation where I would be upset, and, you know, that, you know, it just doesn't bring anything to me. And at the same time, you know, first of all, I'm happy for somebody to get signed with a really great label. And you know what? That person is still going to create amazing music, and they would always, you know, appreciate me for being, you know, being okay. And it happened. Like, look, I have artists now that I remember that I signed this artist, this girl from Poland, and she was so happy that I gave her the opportunity. And then, you know, now she's like signed on Watergate, and touring the world, and she's like, killing it. And I'm just so happy for her. So I would say, just if something like this happens, just, communicate. And, there's obviously different situations when you first you commit, and especially if you sign a contract, that's a tricky one. You already signed a contract. If you sign a contract, I would say if you made a verbal agreement, you can kind of sneak your way out of it, to say, by being very polite and and making sure you communicate really well. But if you already sign the label and sign with the label, and then you want to change your mind, then that's a really bad look. And normally I would not be interested to work with people like that.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So we've hit on the C word, and we wanted to get around to this because it's so important, the communication word. And you emphasized before the importance of this. What are your thoughts overall on just how people communicate, given that a lot of our communication is now done in written form, and we don't get to have a conversation like this where you can see, just by the look on my face, or the way that I'm presenting myself, how I intended something to land with you, as opposed to something that's coming across on email. What are your thoughts on that?
I believe that as much as you can, try to a FaceTime chat. Actually, if you can do a video chat with that person, would be the best thing, because that's what I say in my life too. Like, it's like arguing with your wife or girlfriend over text messages. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not going to work. And it's better to try to see people's reaction. And it's so easy to get misunderstood, and I get it. Everybody has, it's so easy to send somebody a message and everything. And obviously a lot of times you don't have access to this. You don't have access to this type of people to give you, FaceTime. But yeah, I mean, when you communicate, just try to be polite, be mindful of sometimes the time. I mean, now the world is connected 24/7, and even sometimes, even myself, like I always send, I don't even realize it, that I just send a message, at Sunday night at 1 a.m. in the morning, sending a social media message or this. Normally the way I go about it, especially contacting people that I do not know, what's happening is that a lot of times emails get lost. But what I would do initially, I would reach out on social media in a very polite way, short and sweet, and say, hey, what is the best way to contact you in regards to this? Thank you so much for your time. That's it. 9 out of times I get a message saying, hey, email me here, or we can talk here. Because everybody's time is precious. Again, if you were talking with somebody like, let's say, Oliver Koletsky, he's busy. He's always doing something. There's always touring, or always, maybe he played he's been up for 24 hours, So I would say I would always do that, like super short and sweet. What is the best way to communicate with you? And people will tell you, oh, email me or do this. And then that's perfect, because you already kind of made a connection. So they would, when you make that little connection without being super intrusive, then it's easy for them to, you have a higher rate or higher chance for them to open your email when you send it, because you already made like an initial contact. You were short and sweet, polite. Hey, my name is, what is the best way to contact you? Thank you so much. From my experience, it's been working great.
Perfect. Now, on that note, what you mentioned as well, you've got 500 demos a week that you're going through. Busy man. And sometimes you say that, I don't really get a chance to reply back to everybody. Providing somebody's followed the formula that you've pretty much given people now to show that they care, and they're sending music that you would potentially be interested in, and so on, the quality's there. If they don't hear back from you, how is it best to follow up with you to check that you heard it and you received it? And what period of time would you recommend people leave?
I mean, I would say the period of time, I would follow up again after a week. I would say it's a fair amount. I would follow up after a week. If you don't get anything back at this point, I would say, start contact other labels. And I think it's fair. A week, I would say a week, 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks would be like proper one to say. But still, you can, if you think about it, if you do the math, you can't wait, 2 weeks for every single label that didn't respond to go. I would say a week, it's a fair, considering how the current music industry works in terms of social media and connectivity and the way people started, communicating in 2022. I would say a week is a fair time.
Awesome. And the best way to reach out is, as you mentioned, just a quick message on the socials, for example. How's the best way you'd like to be contacted? Maybe I sent you a demo. What's the best way to contact you? Something like that.
Yeah, correct. I feel like it's polite, it's short and sweet, it's not intrusive, it's not, I wouldn't say it's spam. You're on social media, you're there. I mean, all the accounts are to interact with people, and whoever knows and understands, social media, you need to interact with the people that follow you. There's no discussion about that.
Love it. So social media, here we go, down the rabbit hole, watch out. Okay, so let's talk about this briefly. First and foremost, one of the things I picked up on was you mentioned that you will sometimes check people's social media profile to see if they're following the label, to get a feel for how much research they're doing, whether they're really invested in Magician on Duty or not. How much attention do you pay to somebody's social media, number of followers, those kind of things when it comes to signing music for a label?
It doesn't matter at all to me. I don't care about, I never look at followers. I always try to follow the music. And actually that was the title of the last interview that I did with Electronic Groove. Follow the music and not something else. And that's always a try. And I always tell everyone in the industry, and I learned this throughout the years by making mistakes, where if you follow the music and you concentrate on the music, then you stay true. I believe I stay true to myself and to the, and actually respect the craft that I'm having. And I'll give an example. A couple of years ago, my best friend sent me a mix to release on the podcast series. And I had to say no. And the mix was okay, but I knew he could do better. And I told my best friend, I said, listen, I love you. You're not ready yet. So keep sending me music. And when I think, when I think it's going to be good, I will publish you and I'll promote you right away. And he did that, after, I don't know, a year or 2 years, sent me another mix that was just incredible. I posted it and I don't know, it has maybe 12,000 plays right now, and it keeps going. And the mix is a couple of years old and it's still going. So, I don't care about the followers. I just check the social media just to see if they're interested, see if they follow me, if they actually make an effort to see if they're interested, actually really interested in being signed the label, or just they're sending a mass email to other labels,
Okay, so you've talked about the podcast there, and I know that you use that as a means of promoting music as well that's on the label. What other promotion do you do, and what promotion do you expect your artists to do when their releases come out on the label?
I'm so happy you touched on this one, because believe it or not, maybe more than 50% of the artists that gets signed on the label, I don't believe they're doing a good promotion of the release, which is, in a way, it's, for me, it's kind of mind-boggling, because it's their work, it's their creation. Sometimes I have to email back and say, hey, I need your help with this. Your release is out. Let's push it. Let's I'm basically, at the end of the day, I'm a promoter. I'm promoting you. And you trusted me with your music, so I am putting everything out there, and I want you to be with me there, because you're the artist. So obviously, we're doing, the SoundCloud. I make sure all the everything is out. Everything is out on all the platforms. Luckily, I have a great relationship with my distributor, and at the same time, I feel like I finally gained a type of respect from Beatport, if I might say. Maybe it's respect, maybe I don't know what it is, but lately they've been doing a lot of front page features. from the label. I mean, I think the last 3 releases, they all got front page banner on Beatport, which is great. To see them back to back, it's great. It just goes to show you, okay, we're doing something right. So obviously social media, I try to do things are evolving so fast with social media, and what I learned all these years, and I think that this is something that would always apply. You need to be a very good storyteller. Everyone who's winning at social media nowadays, they're telling a story, and people follow stories. So we all follow stories. That's why we watch movies. That's why we watch all these documentaries or whatever it is. It is a story. So I would say that the ones that are doing a fantastic job on the social media, they're authentic and they tell a story. And that's actually one of the things that I'm trying to do with Magician on Duty, from having the music, the art, and I don't know if you noticed, but all my press release for my music, it's actually poetry. So everything blends together. Like in my press releases, I don't write, oh, so now we have a release from blah, blah, blah. This guy's from Berlin. And then he, at the age of 9, he started, et cetera, et cetera. No, it's poetry. And if you read the poetry and you listen to the music, it just, everything makes sense. So it's a story. And people fell in love with that. And I get a lot of messages about that they just love that. They're sometimes putting the music and they sleep at night with the music. And it's very, very inspiring. So, yeah, I think it's very, very important to be active, and because that goes to show you again that you care about your music. I mean, the way I see it is that you have to care about your music more than I do. I mean, I'm your promoter, but you are the creator. So if you do not care, because sometimes I feel, maybe I'm wrong, but sometimes I feel like artists, they put the music on they say, oh, I signed with the label, and then, okay, I'm good. Let's see how it's going to do. And then let's eat some, I don't know, popcorn and just watch the movie. Fine, maybe, but it's better to be engaged, because it's good for you. First, your followers, your friends are following, and you see that you're active, and you're not only that, but it just gives you, people see your passion when you do that. Let's take away all the things that, oh, you have to post. Okay, when you keep doing it and we're going back to consistency. I got so many messages. People say, hey, you're an inspiration. And then back of my mind, I'm like, what do you mean I'm an inspiration? But then I realized I keep going at it, and I keep doing it and people look at it as like, okay, this guy doesn't stop. He must love what he's doing, and in a way it is inspiring for a lot of people, So the more you're active, it's better for you. And also it kind of boosts your confidence, because, a lot of the artists, you always, double check yourself, or a lot of people, you doubt yourself and you're not sure. But doing that, not only it's good for you, it's good for the people that follow you, but at the same time, you keep a fantastic relationship with the label, because it says, wow, look at this guy, super talented. And you know what? He's trying, he's there, he's promoting, he's pushing. It's like, I want to work with people like that. I would look forward to have another release with you, because the experience was just so great. We're all on the same level. And then we're working towards a goal you already created something fantastic. So then let's share it with the world. Let's show the world your work. So that's what is social media. Like people get lost. And I noticed a lot of the old timers in the business, they talk so negatively about social media. It's so bad and blah, blah, blah. And there's fake people. And it's like, get a grip of yourself. There's fake people everywhere. Social media is like what we discussed about. It's what you make of it. If you want to stay on social media for hours to scroll and not get anything out of it, use it to your advantage. It's there. It's free. So I think that's why we're going back to the conversation. I said it's one of the most exciting times to be in this industry.
I love it. And there are a few things that really resonated with me there when you were talking about the idea of, I'm a promoter, but it's your music. You should be more invested in it than I am. And this idea of we're both in this together. You've made something amazing. Let's both double down on getting this out, shared with the world. I think it's fantastic. Now, I don't doubt for a second anyone listening to this is like, my God, I'd love to work with Adrian. You've got such a great vibe and ethos, your professionalism, discipline, desire to support artists. I mean, this stuff is incredible. Now, life is rather the universe is a place of duality. For every positive there's a negative, so there are going to be labels out there and people who do not work like you. What have you seen that you think would be red flags for anyone listening that would make them want to say, hang on a minute, I need to be careful about a particular label? It might be before they even send music, or something that's happening along the process, or something maybe even that appears in the contract, but at a point where you go, hang on a minute, I need to watch out here.
Very simple. Lack of communication. I heard a lot of stories from fellow artists that they signed their music to, I don't know what label, they haven't spoken with them in months, they haven't, just complete, I don't know, lack of communication, and that's like the biggest one. The way I go about it when I signed a new artist or a new release, we open a channel. We figure out a way where we either have a Facebook chat or a WhatsApp chat where I'm constantly in touch with them. And I always, if it's not that, let's say I had the 5-year compilation that just was out a couple of months ago. There was just so many people involved, and some of them didn't use WhatsApp, and I just had the email where I always try to over communicate, telling them, okay, guys, this is where we are. This is what's happening. We are in process of doing XYZ. Then we're going to do this. Then we're going to do that. And then when we have all the materials ready, we share the files. Okay, this is the folder with this. This is the folder with that. Use it in this way. So I give specific, the way I do it is always give specific instructions on how to do it and how to run the marketing campaign and everything, because there's a system in place that I've been having for years, and it just works. So I would say, again, I can't think of another thing. It's just lack of communication. Is if you are starting working with somebody and they don't communicate with you, or even updates, like sometimes things take a long time. And it happened to me actually now I have a wonderful graphic designer from Turkey, Orhan, and he creates everything, all the covers by hand, dot by dot. And it just it's a ridiculous amount of work. And because he was last year, he was not available to work with me for like 3 months, it just put my schedule upside down. So there were a couple of releases that really took a long time to come out, but I was in constant contact with the artist, and I said, hey, I'm really sorry about this. I want to put your music out, and I don't want to settle for something less than that. So please understand that, I'm taking this time, and once we're going to have everything ready, I'd rather have this and release it the right way than just release it to release it. And more, all of them have been very understanding, and in the end, they were super happy with the results.
Yeah, I love it. And, there's a stability and a confidence that breeds for you and for your artist as well when you've got that communication. Brilliant tip. I love it. Well, look, you have dropped so much value. It's been absolutely incredible. Before you head off, I'd love to know, what's the future plans for your DJing, for the label, anything else that you've got going on? You mentioned that you're going to be playing in Austin. It'll be before this podcast goes out, but I'm hoping to get down and watch you play. But what else is coming up in the future for you that people can check out?
Very, very exciting things. I'm working on launching my own brand, along with my best friend, Afrotrace. He's also from Romania, but he's living in LA, and we have, we've been friends for many, many years. And my brand is called A Life of Magic. The tagline is inspire, educate, and instill positive energy around the world. Initially, I've been working on this concept for quite a few years, but initially I thought it's just going to be an event. But I realized throughout the years that I don't want it to be just an event. I want it to be a community. And the event and the community, it's tied to giving back to the community where we host the event. So this is a brand that is going to be worldwide. We're going to host events around the world, and then we are going to do things for the community where we host the event.
Wow.
This is not regular fundraising. I don't like to tell people, give me your money and I'll do something else with them. I want to do action-based community work and really make an impact in the lives of other people. So, and this is, I mean, I can talk about it for hours, but this is literally my focus for, going forward. I feel like I found my fire to say this is something that I will put all my energy into it. It's already happening in terms of branding. We're going to announce the project really soon, working on the website. We're going to build a community around Discord. I really like Discord. I think it's such a great tool to use to connect with people without being distracted by what did I do today, what's the story, what's the trend. Over there is just very focused on one-to-one or conversations. So that would be my focus, along with me getting back into productions, producing music. So that would be the two main things that I'm gonna spend my time on it. Obviously the label, but the label is going great because I have a system in place that I tuned and I fine-tuned for the last couple of years. But my main thing is going to be definitely my brand, A Life of Magic, and me producing music again. So that's going to be my focus.
Amazing. Well, look, super exciting. And I know you're absolutely just, from this interview alone, everyone will know that this is something to keep their eye on purely because of your energy and the way that you approach these things. So I'm excited to see how this goes for you as well. You've dropped so much knowledge in this and answered so many burning questions that I consistently hear from people about sending their music to labels, and really brought this human side to this as well, as opposed to it just feeling like a business model and an artist is over here terrified of the person on the other side of the wall. And actually you've taken down the wall and brought the communication, the kindness, the compassion and the energy, and hey, actually I'm a human being on the other side of this as well, and you treat me well and I treat you well, and this is all going to turn out great. So it's been absolutely phenomenal. I want to just extend a huge thank you to you for sharing so much knowledge.
Thank you, Keith. I really appreciate it. And thank you for allowing me to be part of your podcast. I hope that people will learn something from this. And if you guys have more questions, hey, send me a message. I'm happy to help. I think that we should all help each other more. We all grow together and we all learn together. I'm always open. Send me a message. If I have time, I'll write back to you, whatever you have. And again, I'm super happy. I really enjoyed the conversation too. And I hope to see you in Austin.
Yeah, excellent stuff. For sure. Adrian, thank you so much, buddy.
Thank you, Keith. All the best. Take care.